think the thing that's critical is to understand that good lighting is designed at the start of is the criteria for good lighting is determined at the start of every project with each individual client. You have something that you use as a lighting designer. I think that's unfortunate. There's an English curmudgeon, G.K. Chesterton, who said, if the only tool you have is a hammer, you'll view every problem as a nail. So if all you've got is a bag full of different nails, I view that as a problem. You have to see exactly what is particular to this group that you're working for. And that when all of those particulars are down, you not only write down what your criteria are, you write down how you are going to measure whether you achieve them or not. And until you do that, you shouldn't start designing. Merchandise companies, they have guidelines, city planning, they have guidelines, they have guidelines, like there's guidelines for lighting a subway. That doesn't mean that you have to follow them. They're only guidelines. You have to determine if this is correct. I look at it and say, will this be good? If it will be good, I reject it. If it's not going to be excellent, you shouldn't do it. Anybody can do it in a satisfactory manner. All you have to do is follow the rules. I believe rules are a substitute for thinking. Come with an open mind. Anything they write down, you have to view with a certain amount of skepticism. And then curiosity has to take over. And you have to determine what is really you have to sift through all the potential solutions that exist. Because that's what you're doing. You're a solution seeker. Which one of these solutions, after you sift through, will fit this set of criteria the best? Even if you have to rewrite the criteria, and sometimes you do. You do with at the startup of the job, because the responsibility of the designer and the client are to educate each other. And when this education is complete, there should be very few semantic barriers. And then you have to communicate what this final product will be. And we believe here that there takes 3 methods of communication. One, we have to talk like we're doing. It's very important. The other one is you have to draw. So there's some visual component. And third, you have to write, because the written word is what remains with the client when you go home. So he can think about it. He can look at the drawing, look at the written word, put together what you said, and say, gee, I'd rather see this. You are trying to determine what it is you wish to see. If you communicate with 3 separate methods of communication, you have a better chance of understanding what it is you wish to see. The language of architecture changed completely. Everything has changed. The language of architecture changed significantly. What was once called architectural lighting were skylights, windows, valences, clear stories. That was the architectural lighting. Then you had decorative lighting, which is quite obvious what that is. And then you had supplementary lighting. Now we put the whole thing together in one lump. It isn't quite as clear as it was when it was just simply, it was 3 elements. And I sort of have retained that, because I look at any project and see, will daylight make a real contribution? If so, and many, many, many times it does, we use it. Do you need decorative lighting? And many times you do. It's really important. And the rest of the lighting is just supplementary. So after you have illuminated the space by whatever means you're going to do, then you make adjustments with the supplementary lighting to get some quantity of light if you think you need it. If you design for the task, you will never do a good job. You may be able to read this very clearly. The rest of the place will be nothing. People's impression of the place is determined upon arrival. hard to do lighting that you can't read it. Hard to do bad. You see so well. So it's really important that you really have an understanding. And that, your impression of that space, is all part of the itinerary that you have composed for your arrival at that destination. If you are trained, there's a huge difference between an industrial product designer and somebody who's purely a lighting designer. Even the theater's gotten caught up a bit in the technology tour de force. But still, the play rules. But there you have a director, you have an actor, you have a script, you have a million things, so it's got to look right. And if you don't like it, you can go and fix it. You can change the color filter, you can change the luminary, you put it wherever you want. In architecture, you can't do that. You make up your mind, here it is. It's hard to take it out and move it. So you have to be a little more careful. But now, so many different attitudes, and some of them are dominated by this visual culture. Whereas I would always try to have the dominant theme be a very careful sifting through of what it is you wish to see from area to area, and a composition of the transition from one of these areas. All the transitory spaces are all carefully composed so that when you see this next scene, it has a favorable or the correct impact. The two big negative impacts. One, energy, this heightened infatuation with saving energy, and this fast track. Everything has to be done. So the lighting's at the very end of the stick and a very minor part of the project in terms of dollar value, so it gets pushed the hardest from both ends of those things. This green stuff is just beginning to catch up to the architecture. You have to pay a lot of money to do green architecture, whereas if you don't put in any lights, you save money. They have projects go through what we call value engineering. So at the start of every job, and everybody has these wonderful dreams of what they want their project to look like. They have all this stuff, and you try and establish some budget to do that. Then, if it comes down to value engineering, I define value engineering as the instant elimination of amenity.